My memory of him, of course, is when we were in school together, when he was in the same form, from, I suppose, the age of about 13 onwards. And he was somebody who kept himself pretty much to himself, quite quiet in form. He made friends, but not very close friends. And I think he had a capacity to surprise us sometimes by what he was good at.
Although there was a class of 30, you all used to form into cliques. And Brian didn't, from my memory, didn't link up with any of the cliques. But two people that he was closest to when he was in school was Rowan Williams, the Archbishop of Canterbury, and another guy called Gerald Gabb.
The reason I know him is because we lived in an area of Swansea called Clace. The other thing is that I'm drawing this picture of two brothers that were, I think the best way you can describe it is they were introverts. And I just remember with the Burford boys is that they didn't have a father. But I think I naturally assumed that his father had died. He was brought up by his mother, they were brought up by his mother, and the idea of single parents in those days was, well, I had not heard of it. They were quite introverted, but they were very nice. And I'm saying that he was an introvert, but one of the things, and this is something my brother remembers vividly, is that he was very keen on music, as we all were. You've got to remember now, we're talking mid-60s, that is, the Beatles were really hitting their mark now, the Stones, the Who, Small Faces. Oh my God, what a time to be alive, where even your parents were keen on them. His favourite group were a group called the Association. I don't think most people in his year group would have known who the Association were, but he really carried a torch for the Association, and like I say, you'd sort of talk to them, but they wouldn't necessarily start the conversation, until you got Brian onto music.
He had a younger brother, but he was more outgoing than Brian. He played rugby for the school and what have you. But he went away to university and got locked out of his bedroom, so he climbed up the drain pipe at the side of the building and fell and subsequently died. And the story was going around at the time was that's what sent Brian off the rails.
Clearly he was a person who felt things very intensely and very privately. So, again, it's of a piece with what I know of him that a serious bereavement would go very, very deep.
I saw more of him around the streets of Swansea, not really knowing, first of all, who he was, but then it came to light. So I probably saw more of him walking the streets than I did when we were in school together. There used to be a time when there was what was known as the Kingsway Roundabout, which had an underpass. And also there was a time when Castle Gardens had a concrete structure. And I think the Kingsway Underpass and the Castle Gardens were haunts of his. He was very independent. And there's the story when he walked all the way out to Gower to give somebody a wallet with £300 in it.
That's a mark of a truly exceptional person with no influence whatsoever, has he? Only by what he says to people. Imagine if he'd have been in a job where he had influence. He would have been remarkable, wouldn't he?
How did you find out about his death, and how did you feel about it? Did a lot of memories come back from it?
I read it in the paper. They weren't calling him Brian Burford, and he also went under a different surname at some time in his life, I believe, in the early days of his life. As I say, he was a strange person.
He had a very public funeral, didn't he, in Swansea? He had a...
Well, public in so much that people paid for it. They set up a fund to pay for the funeral, and many people went to that funeral. Well, the last time I would have seen him I would have just seen him walking the streets, but I don't know whether I spoke to him when I was in school even, because he was that sort of withdrawn person.